Hi guys, and welcome to the video, and welcome to something which is a bit of a departure for me. Now those who've watched my videos before know that I look at doing in-depth reviews of add-on aircraft, or I've started doing some hardware as well, and also doing tutorials. However, those who watched my last video will be fully aware that I bought a used Pimax Crystal Lite off an auction site, and I had a look at what I thought about that. Now obviously over the last 2 or 3 weeks that means I've been playing around quite a bit with VR, and whilst I'm certainly no expert, I've been thoroughly enjoying it. It brought to mind, well, what can I do with this and some videos? So the thought is whether or not I do some review stuff exclusively in VR, whether I add VR stuff onto my existing format of videos, or whether I do something else, just, you know, flying routes, flying low-level flights, etc. So if you've got any thoughts, guys, please feel free to drop them in the links in the comments box below. I always read all comments, so it would be hugely appreciated. A little bit of feedback always goes a long way in terms of shaping the content of a channel. Likewise, if you enjoy the videos, then please feel free to like, share, subscribe and all the good stuff. As I say, I'm looking at trying to push on to 15,000 subscribers. I'm not too far away. I'm at about 14,200 at the minute, but any help is massively appreciated. So, as I say, what I'm going to do is kind of use this video as a look-see at both the aircraft, VR, VFR navigation, and what I feel about those. Now in terms of the route I'll be flying, I've plotted it on Navigraph, but I don't quite know how to get Navigraph working in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 in VR. Where's Navigraph gone? There it is. But this is the route I'll be flying. And if I just come over here, just scale it out a little bit, I'm going to be flying from Sibson, which is over near Peterborough, just to the southeast of Wittering, which is an RAF base. I think they used to fly Harriers there. I don't know if it's even still operational now. Leicester is the first port of call, which is a general aviation airfield in the East Midlands. Flew out of there quite a lot. Really nice airfield, really lovely people there, and some good flying schools there as well. There's a really nice fixed wing one. There's a rotary wing one as well, which I did a bit of time with as well. From there we're going to go over to the M42. Going to do the usual VFR thing that everybody does. Going to go and have a look from the house, which is, let me follow this yellow road, or my old house I should say, which was up in Broadley, up here in Tamworth. But we're going to go to junction 10, which is a visual reference point just outside the Birmingham controlled airspace. It's actually below it. I think the base is 2,000 feet. From there we're going to go up to this part here, which is Rodage. Rodage is a microlight site. It's quite difficult to track down, but we'll see if we can find that. Then on to Cosford, which is RAF Cosford. It's where they do a lot of their engineering school. They've also got the Royal Air Force, well, one of the 2 Royal Air Force museums there. Fascinating place, really worth a visit. And we're going to continue and go into Welshpool, which is somewhere I flew into once during my hours building. Fascinating place in its own right. So that's the plan in terms of where we're going to fly. What I will do is edit the video in chunks so that it's not too long, but obviously there's quite a bit of flying here. It's about an hour or so, and we'll see how we get on. So here we are in our MH60, and having a look around, the 3D effect from the Pimax Crystal Lite, outstanding, really outstanding. It's a shame that you can't really see it. I just need to adjust my headset. There we go. It's a shame you can't really see it on a 2D monitor or get the effects of it, because it's absolutely stunning. And the clarity with which you can see things in this headset is quite remarkable. The modelling in this has been done to a really, really high standard. As I say, if you want me to do a full review on it, I will do. I'm wondering about with the channel, instead of doing purely 2D reviews, doing a combination of 2D and 3D reviews in one review. Likewise, I haven't had the chance to really go into this aircraft in depth. I mean, I absolutely adore helicopters. It's fundamentally part of my background from when I was in the military, and they're fascinating animals. But yeah, the modelling, the 3D modelling, the panel, the lighting, everything just looks exceptional. The clarity from the headset in terms of numbers, etc. A little bit blurry on that one, but I think that might actually be sim related with the movement. I do need to maybe do something with regards to that. I don't know if the latest DLSS will pick up on that. But as I say, we're at Sibson, so let's get airborne and we'll see how we get on. The first heading that we need to go out on is 277. It is nice being able to read text. This helicopter, I don't know why, but I seem to get no real anti-torque issues. There seems to be no torque, so I don't know if the helicopter auto compensates for it, or if it's a setting thing, but it doesn't seem to do much in terms of that. Other helicopters do, but this one doesn't. But let's get away from the ground, because the ground is a scary place to be. Let's accelerate. We'll go through translational lift. Normally it's about 30 knots, so we are through it now, and you get that freebie climb out of it. As I say, I'm not a real world helicopter. I'm not particularly experienced even in sim helicopters, but I do really love them. Coming around to 277, hopefully we don't hit anything. The sounds in this are great, even through the rather naff earphones of the Pimax. It's my only really big bugbear with the Pimax is the sound is awful, and I don't know if it should have a microphone, but my headset, if it should have a microphone, the microphone doesn't work. But the 3D effect is absolutely fantastic, and as you fly around you really do see it. You really do get the impression that you are in a 3D world. Unfortunately, it's not something you can replicate on a 2D monitor. You can't really give that same impression, which is a real shame. But yeah, as I say, one of the things I'm potentially looking at doing with the channel is when I do reviews, possibly reviewing in both 2D and 3D, just out of completeness really, because some aircraft will be awesome in 2D and potentially naff in 3D. Which is not what we want, and obviously we also need to be fully aware of what we're buying in terms of a product. Now obviously this isn't a full review of this helicopter. The main reason being is that I haven't really spent a great deal of time trying to learn about it at the minute. As I say, it's only been out a few weeks. Got some sort of tower on the left there, half past 11 o'clock. Obviously when you're low flying, you tend not to get much ground detail beneath you that you can navigate by, but you can navigate by things that have vertical extent. So nice little church, and as I say, we're going to go towards Leicester to start with, and then we're going to trundle over towards the West Midlands. So we're in the East Midlands at the moment. Look at these forests though, in 3D. Look at these forests. They look spectacular. They look absolutely spectacular. Got no qualms about this at all. Obviously in a helicopter, altitude is controlled by your collective, and speed is controlled by your cyclic. Completely different to how, well I say that, you say completely different to how a fixed wing operates. It's not technically, if you think about when you fly an approach in a Cessna, you use pitch to control speed and power to control your rate of descent, so it's not that dissimilar, but obviously they're linked. So as I say, I have to keep checking my microphone, which is an absolute pain. I keep getting this warning every now and again for GPU usage, which yeah, it's a pain. I don't know what I need to change in terms of that. Obviously, it's affecting VRAM, or VRAM is the issue. But yeah, nice little viaduct over there. Looking at that. But our first leg's what, 10 minutes long? 18 minutes long, is it? 10 minutes. So it's a decent old leg for our first leg. Need to come slightly further round to the left now. I will hang on to a little bit of altitude while I faff around down here trying to get this. There we go. I'm not flying on autopilot because, well, I don't really see the point of flying low level on autopilot. I don't think you do it in real life because at the end of the day you want to be fully in control. But we're tracking nicely. And as I say, Leicester's a lovely GA airfield. It's quite interesting starting the flight instructors course. I didn't get a chance to finish it because that's when I lost my medical. But flying from the opposite seat or teaching somebody how to fly from the opposite seat is a really intense experience. And you start to realise how much the significance of what you're saying, the context of what you're saying, and how it can be misconstrued, but on top of that, how if you say the wrong thing unwittingly, you've got to bear in mind the reaction from the student. It was really enjoyable, fascinating. As I say, unfortunately I never got to finish that course. This looks like it's an old airfield down here, doesn't it? Maybe under the trees now. But that's the sort of thing at VFR flying you manage to get a little bit of a look at, is the terrain that goes past you and what may be there, what may have been there. We're fortunate in the UK that we've got ridiculous amounts of history. We've got a lot of disused airfields in the east and southeast, obviously due to World War II. You know, some of them are only a couple of miles apart as well, which is ridiculous. Quite how back in the day they found their way to their home airfield when there's dozens of them within a relatively small area of space. So Lord only knows. As I say, I'll chop up the video so it's a bit more manageable in terms of watching it, but also obviously it may be that I have to chop it up because the microphone's gone dead, which is an absolute pain. Plane flying left to right, but it'll be up above the clouds. Helicopters were made for low level. Microsoft Flight Simulator was made for low level. Look at this. I think that's going to be Leicester, just left of the centre line. I mean, it's unreasonable, unrealistic to see those lights at this range, really. I think generally in daytime Leicester didn't have its lights on. For the Pappies, I'm not sure. Feel free to correct me if you fly out of Leicester, but I think obviously places where it's a bigger airfield do. I'm not sure that Leicester would do on a daily basis. But it looks right in terms of where we're tracking, and I can't think of any other airfields in the area that would be likely to have their lights on at this time of day. In fact, we're almost lined up for a straight-in approach, look. And that's great to see, that sort of ability to see at that distance. Just check the chart, yes, looks like it's Leicester. Try and get back on centre line, shall we? Which we're not doing very well. It's a classic triangle of runways at Leicester, but it's also got a couple of grass runways there, slightly high. We're coming in a bit too slow and a bit too high, really, so we're probably right in the avoid curve of the helicopter. What are we doing? About 40. Moza's stick is starting to shake itself to bits, which is true to life really with a helicopter at this sort of power setting and speed. You can see one of the grass runways just off to the left there. It's got two grass runways. One of them is really short, it's only about 400 metres long. But we'll go and have a look at Leicester. This is a default airfield in the sim, although I don't know, I might have it as an enhanced one through freeware. I don't know. I don't recall the airfield having quite so many gliders, to be honest. They would be unhappy with us hovering around here. But the general layout's pretty much spot on. I don't remember having a building over there. Obviously we want to avoid clouting the windsock. But as far as default airfields go, it's not too bad. The tower would be here, where this building is, with the airfield markings just out down there. This would be the tower here, which is about 4 stories high. I think it's an old World War II tower, but it's really good. It's really nice. Just make sure my microphone's still going, hence the wobble. I do apologise. But yeah, when I was flying out of here, there was a King Air almost permanently sat here. And a magnificent looking aircraft. Magnificent looking aircraft. And then, as I say, this was a car park, which they've kind of got correctly represented. And then over here was where all the GA aircraft were parked. But we'll get going. What's our next heading? 269, judging by that. 269. I mean, it's not bad for a default aircraft. A default airfield, I should say. It's not too bad at all. This microphone issue I've got is really doing my head in. So this is going to be Leicester, straight over the top of Leicester. Obviously in real life you wouldn't do that. But we are in Simland, so A, we don't need any permission, and B, if we crash, well, so be it. We're not going to kill anyone. Which obviously is our main point, is not to kill anyone, including ourselves. But yeah, just dodging this tower on the left hand side, making sure we're well clear of it. We don't want to collect that on our way through. Getting a little bit of stuttering on the headset, nothing too bad. We need to come back round onto our intended heading / track. Just going to let us get back onto track down here. Aircraft left to right, somewhere above us, be above the clouds, I'd have thought. Microsoft Flight Simulator doesn't tend to do lots in terms of low-level aircraft, really. Certainly not this low. Check the map. As I say, need to generally try and keep the eyes outside as much as possible. It tends to stop you hitting things. And also in the real world, obviously, it's fundamental part of navigation. What's that straight road there? That's interesting. This fundamental part of navigation is that you actually look out the window and you pick features to fly to rather than just stare at your instruments. It's very easy to get drawn into the instruments. It's one of the comments that flying instructors often say about people from flight simulator backgrounds, is they spend too much time looking at the instruments, not enough time looking outside. And you should be setting your attitude based on the airframe and what you see outside the window, not setting your attitude by this. However, we are tracking slightly right at where I want to be. And this is the one where we're heading towards, this leg's heading towards Tamworth. So this is the M42 visual reference point for Birmingham Airport. Don't want to bust that. At the end of the day, anything where you bust controlled airspace is not a good day out. you're going to be having some long, hard conversations one way, really, if you're busting airspace. You may also not have a license to enjoy for much longer. I feel like for visual navigation an EFB is cheating a little bit. I feel like it's cheating. The thing is, I haven't found anything where I can see a 2D picture. So for example, if I had a picture or an image off a chart, a real world chart, I haven't seen anything where I could show that in the VR cockpit. If anybody knows anything of that, that would be great, because then I'd be able to do proper VFR navigation using proper charts, which would be fantastic. I have to say, this aircraft is handling superbly. It's really nice. It's a real pleasure to fly. I haven't managed to figure out how to trim in Microsoft Flight Simulator helicopters, which is a bit weird. Keeping a good lookout all around. There's a bit of stuttering there. I do need to optimise my PC, the sim, and the headset, really, because the stuttering is getting a little bit worse. I mean, I'm pushing it because I've been doing quite a lot of low flying generally. Had the Chinook out the other day, which was really good fun. And I have to say, I'm enjoying Miltech's products, so the Chinook and this seem to be really, really nice. How are we doing? Yeah, still trudging along. Check the microphone's recording, which it is. But the M42 junction 10 position as a reference point is unnerving. In real life, it's unnervingly close to Birmingham's airspace, and you can see the jets taking off and landing just over to the northwest. Well, I suppose where junction 10 is almost directly to the west. But yeah, it's one of those things in GA where you want to make your altimetry spot on. The last thing you want to do is bounce into the base of the airspace. And in the UK, we've got a thing called regional pressure setting (RPS). It's like a clutch QNH is the best way to describe it for an area. And so it's the lowest forecast QNH, forecast valid for an hour, forecast an hour in advance. The problem is that means that it keeps you clear of the ground below you, but it doesn't really keep you clear of the airspace above you, and that's quite a common one for people getting into trouble. Is not really being aware that that pressure setting will keep you clear of the ground, because it's the lowest forecast pressure setting. But obviously that means that you may well bust airspace above you if you're not careful. So it's a bit of a gotcha, that one. How are we doing? Alright, yeah, we're getting there. As I say, this is going to be M42 junction 10. I used to live around here, so we'll see if we can get some landmarks as we go. Lots of industrial units here. We're literally coming into the area now. I'm looking for the A5, which is Dead Straight Road, which I think this is it, down to my left. This would be Nuneaton on my left here. I'm just going to bring some power off and slow down. And I'm thinking that this is what it's making out as the M42 A5. So the M42 is left to right, the A5 is straight ahead of us. Yeah, it's looking quite reasonable. Yeah. Whoa. Come on, controls, play ball. So I've just brought us down here to, I used to live in here, this is Tamworth, and this is Tamworth Castle. That's not strictly correct in terms of its modelling, it's you know, it's in the right place. It's also got it on a Motte and Bailey, the type of construction with this sort of hill. Built in Norman times, 1068, but it's nice to see it represented in the sim. Very nice to see it represented. Fascinating place. It was the seat of power for Mercia. And it's got such an epic history. But it was fascinating. I worked there for a year, and I have to say, what an absolute pleasure it was working there. We're so lucky in the UK to have so much history. As I say, the position's correct. The Mott and Bailey's correct. You can't see the Bailey these days. That's been demolished, but the Mott's correct. The high-rise buildings, not so much. There's a couple of them visible from it. But it's not the greatest representation, but it is accurate in terms of its placement and what it is and where it is. So anyway, from here we are heading 238, no 330, because we don't want to go into Birmingham's airspace. It's great to see things like that in the sim. 330. And we're going towards Rodage here. Going to see if we can see Rodage. We probably won't, because it's very difficult to see even from the air in real life. But it should be in theory on the nose. I've got what looks like a windsock out to the right. It's a microlighting airfield. It would be here. It would be here. Not quite sure what that is in the field, but I'll have a look. Yeah, I think this would be Rodage here. Not quite sure about those big buildings. It's got a van in the middle of the road, in the middle, and a little... Oh, it's got a couple of GA aircraft. As I say, Rodage isn't a GA airfield. It's microlights. Well, it is a GA airfield, but it's not for that sort of size of aircraft. It's for microlights, but it's not fully sorted out, is it, in terms of the scenery? And it certainly doesn't have big buildings like that around it, but never mind. Right, next heading, or next course I should say, is 258. And that's going to take us down towards Cosford. It has to be said, flying helicopters is awesome. Get a bit of speed on. The feedback with the vibration coming through the joystick is makes it fantastic. This is going to be Burton-on-Trent here, probably the biggest brewing town in the UK. I'm not aware of any others, but you can smell the brewing. It's a very. They also make Marmite here, which is very pungent. Very pungent indeed. Fascinating history in that town as well, to be honest, but yeah, the overwhelming memories are of brewing and Marmite. But there's a really nice airfield near called Taken Hill, which I did some hours building from. Also did a little bit of aerobatics there, and also did I do some helicopter? No, I didn't do any helicopter from there. But we need to come back round onto 258. Obviously things like airfields are quite challenging to see from a couple of 100 feet up. But we should come across it before we smash into any aircraft. We're quite high now, a couple of 100 feet, something like that. What's Radol saying? There's no over 500 feet. This is not how it rolls. 151, slightly left of track. But as I say, here we are at Cosford. Also the site of the RAF Museum here is also the site of where Just Flight normally do their their flight sim show, which is worth going to if you ever get a chance to go to that. If you're in the UK, it is worth going to. It's obviously not as big as those over in the States, for example, but from a UK perspective, there's normally some really good companies there with the latest technology, etc. I always remember looking at some of the hardware for the A320 or the 737 and being quite jealous of them in terms of the hardware. It's also home of one of the, I don't know if there's more, but certainly a technical aspect of the Air Force has got one of their engineering schools here. And we'll just bring it over here. Their sports pitch has got an RF roundel on it, just there, look. Which I think is kind of cool. We'll follow the Perry track round a bit here. Need to just scroll up a bit to pick up our departure. Our arrival, sorry, which is 270. Text is quite small on that. 270. Let's bring it round to the right, and we'll start looking for Welshpool. It's this feeling of having the terrain up around you that's quite impressive with VR. You feel like you're part of it. And the cockpits in VR are just super duper. And the vehicle of choice is a general aviation slow aircraft or a helicopter, really, for me now. I think this is fantastic fun. Right, last time I flew into Welshpool, it appeared out of the mist, out of nowhere, so we need to keep our eyes peeled. Obviously for aircraft maths, that sort of thing at this altitude. But the airfield will have a habit of just appearing out of nowhere. Talking of which, an aircraft out to the right, according to the TCAS on the map, but we're not going to see it unless it's low level. I do like the clouds in the sim. I feel like the clouds are particularly good these days compared to what we were getting years ago. Things like the fact that you can move your head around and you feel like you're dodging things, not wanting to clatter your bone dome on stuff. Bring in a bit of power. Ridge line's moving down in the screen, which is good. Now I feel over this ridge line is where we're going to be looking for Welshpool, and I want it to be slightly out on our left, which is going to be. So I don't know what that additional airfield is, that little one. I don't know if it's like a microlight site or what. To our left somewhere over here. Remember, it is by the water. It's kind of parallel to this ridge line. Is that it? Yes, I think that's it there, isn't it? Yeah, that's it. I don't think the sim or the aircraft is simulating vortex ring state, because I think we should be in all sorts of trouble by now. Our rate of descent is far too high. Trying to keep the threshold in the same position on the screen, which if we're doing that means we're going to hit it. That's ultimately what our aim is. Now we're going to crawl in slightly slow. The stick is starting to shake. Yeah, we've kind of I'm always doing this, I'm always cautious, so I always end up coming in short of the airfield, short of the runway, and having to almost hover taxi in. So I think my microphone just cut out there a little bit before we got down here finally, so you wouldn't have heard my chuntering away, although I wasn't talking too much because of the stress of trying to get a helicopter into the place I wanted it to be. But as I say, I hope you guys enjoyed the flight. I certainly did. If you want me to do more VR flying, and particular if you want me to include VR in any of my reviews, please let me know in the comments. It'd be much appreciated. Likewise, if you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to tick like, share, subscribe. Makes a massive difference. I have to say this helicopter is awesome in VR. Really, really good. So I do intend on doing a review on the aircraft anyway in the near future. But with that in mind, look after yourselves, guys. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.